Folk, when we plan holidays, we normally need to look at certain timetables in the sense of if I'm wanting to fly from one place to another, I need to know what day those aeroplanes leave and what time they leave. In the same way, if I'm wanting to catch a bus, if I want to get on a bus, what days and what time do the buses leave? And the same can be said for a train. Now, looking at timetables can be a bit confusing, especially when I got timetables all over and I got to link them together. In this session, we're going to look at an example of somebody who wants to go to Durban on a holiday, and they currently live in Cape Town. And so they decide to catch the train to Durban. So we're going to look at a timetable dealing with dealing with the trains. We're also going to look at a calendar because we can't just get on any train and go. We got to know what dates we can travel and what dates we can't travel. Okay? Before we do that though, let's just remind ourselves what timetables are all about. Timetables are similar to calendars in that they help us plan our time. Where calendars are useful for planning months and years, timetables are useful for planning shorter periods of time, like hours, days, and weeks. You may already be familiar with timetables like those for your different classes at school and for TV shows. In this section, we're going to learn how to read timetables and how to draw up our own. And I'm going to show you in a very complicated example. Let's have a look at this. Ricardo lives in Cape Town. He decides to visit Matthew in Durban so that together they can have some fun in the sun on the Durban beaches. Keegan decides to go along with Ricardo as he knows that together both Ricardo and Matthew won't behave. They need his help. The following needs to be taken into account. Ricardo and Keegan finish school on Wednesday the 10th of December at 12 p.m. The boys need to be back in Cape Town by the December the 31st in order to see the new year in with their ma and their pa. They want to spend as long as possible in Durban. The lads decide to travel by train as this is the cheapest form of transport. They will travel from Cape Town to Johannesburg, where they will spend a minimum of 3 nights with an uncle and an aunt before heading off to Durban. When returning from Durban, they will again go via Johannesburg, but they don't have to spend a night in Johannesburg. They may have to, but they don't have to. Okay, so it all depends on the times of the trains, and we'll look at that just now. Shosholoza adds 15% to their fares from the 15th of December to the 10th of January because this is peak time, there's a demand for it, and so we can increase those fees. Then they will travel both trips between Cape Town and Johannesburg in tourist class, and the trips between Johannesburg and Durban will be in economy class. Right. Yo! That's a lot of information to cram into this head. But let's start now by, first of all, seeing what the question is. And the question says, determine the dates and times of departure from the different stations, then the dates and arrival times at the different train stations, the total cost of the train fares for both the lads. There's quite a lot of work we have to do here. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to look at our calendar, and we are going to say, right, here's the calendar. Looking at the calendar, we are going to try and figure out when we can travel and when we can't. Now remember, the lads have to go via Johannesburg. There's no direct train from Cape Town all the way through to Durban. So they decide, well, there's a train from Cape Town to Johannesburg and a train from Johannesburg to Durban. They're going to go via Johannesburg, and while they're in Johannesburg, they're going to visit their uncle and aunt who they haven't seen for a long time. And they decide they need to spend at least 3 nights there, otherwise their uncle and aunt are going to be a little offended and say, yeah, lekker, you just come in here and you pull out again, what's the problem? Okay, so let's have a look at it. So Ricardo and Keegan finished school on Wednesday the 10th of December at 12 p.m. So Wednesday the 10th at 12 p.m. they finish school. All right, so they want to get on a train as quick as possible. But the boys need to be back in Cape Town by December the 31st. And that's when they must be back. Okay? Must be back. Right. Now, they want to spend as long as possible in Durban. So guys, if they're wanting to spend as long as possible in Durban, they want to leave as soon as school breaks up. But when do the trains leave? So let's look at our train timetable. Now this does get a bit complicated, and so let's just explain a few things here. First of all, we can see that we have Joburg to Cape Town, and we also have a train Cape Town to Joburg. And that's the first train we need to look at. Now, do you remember that the lads finish school on a Wednesday? Now, there's actually a train on Wednesday, on Friday, and on Sundays. So it's kind of exciting because maybe they can catch the train on Wednesday, but there's a problem. The problem is that in Cape Town, the train departs at 10 in the morning. Now guys, that's a problem because school only finishes at 12 o'clock. And because school finishes at 12, they can't get on that Wednesday train. They've got to get on the next train. When's the next train? The next train is on a Friday at 10 o'clock. So let's go back here and fill it in. The next Friday is the 12th. So the 12th is when they're going to get on the train. And they get on the train, and remember, it leaves at 10 a.m. in the morning. So now we know when they're going. We also know they've got to be back by the 31st. And the 31st is a Wednesday. Let's go back to our timetable. And we're going to see that Joburg to Cape Town, there are trains that leave on a Wednesday, a Friday, and a Sunday. Now, if they leave on a Wednesday, they're never going to be back. Why? Because if you look at your timetable, it says here on our timetable that the train arrives the next day. Look at that, day 1, day 2. So it arrives back the next day, and it's going to arrive at 15:30, which is 3:30 in the afternoon. So a train Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Okay, so Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Wednesday can't leave because then they get back Thursday and they've got to be back the 31st. The Sunday is the next possible one which they would have to leave. So they're going to get on the train on that Sunday, the 28th, which means they get back the Monday, but at least they're there in time for the 31st. So when I look at my train timetable again, we know it leaving Joburg on that Sunday, and it leaves at 12:30 a.m. So we know we're going to leave at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay, so we're getting on the train. We get on the train at 10 o'clock and we arrive in Johannesburg the next day. And the train arrives at, let's find our timetable. It's going to leave Cape Town 10 o'clock. It arrives the next day at 12:15. So it arrives on the 13th at 12:15 a.m. Right, so we now look at the next bit of information, and it says this. The lads decide to travel by train, right? They will travel from Cape Town to Joburg, and when they're in Joburg, they've got to spend a minimum of 3 nights in Joburg. A minimum. In other words, they can spend more if they want, but no less than 3 nights. So let's go and find that out now. So no less than 3 nights. If they arrive on the 13th, now that is going to be the night of the 13th, the night of the 14th, and the night of the 15th. In other words, folk, they can only leave on the Tuesday. That's the earliest they can leave. Let's go to our train timetable. Now we've got another timetable, and it's for my trip Joburg to Durban, Durban to Joburg. Now, we're in Joburg, we want to get to Durban. When does my train leave? My train leaves on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, as well as a Sunday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So when I go back, I say, right, if the earliest I can leave is Tuesday, there's no train on a Tuesday, but there is definitely a train on the Wednesday. So on that Wednesday, we're going to get on the train to Durban. And what time does our train leave? It leaves at, we got to get the right timetable here, Joburg to Durban. It leaves at 18:30, which is 6:30 p.m. It arrives the next day, because that's day 2, day 1, day 2, the next day at 7:10. So we're leaving at 16:30 in the evening, 18:30, 6:30 p.m. and we arrive the next day at 7:10 a.m. Okay, now we need to get a train in Joburg on the 28th to get back to Cape Town. In other words, I've got to be on a train or at Joburg station before 12:30 on a Sunday. So when can I catch a train from Durban to Joburg? Let's have a look. So Durban to Joburg, we're going to now look at this part of our timetable. We can see a train leaves on a Monday, a Wednesday, a Friday, and a Sunday. If we leave Sunday, we arrive the next day. So if I'm leaving Sunday, I'm going to arrive the next day. I'm going to miss my other train to Cape Town. So let's see, or rather let's try and find another day. So the next day possible before the Sunday was the Friday. So if we look at the Friday, we're going to say, right, so if he leaves the Friday, okay, he's going to depart on the train and he's going to arrive the next morning as well. What time does the train depart and what time does it arrive? Well, it departs Durban at 7:15 in the evening, or 19:15, and it arrives at 7:45 the next morning. So we know we've got 7:15 and 7:45. Yeah, 7:15 and 7:45. So 7:15 is 7:15 p.m. and we arrive at 7:45, 7:45 a.m. the next morning. Right, can you see now what we've done, hey? We've taken our calendar and we've taken all the information we needed and we've looked at our train timetable to try and figure out when we're going, where we're going, how we're going. Now, folk, when I look at this, oh my giddy aunt, that does look confusing. Just have a look at what's on your screen at the moment, okay? All this information. So let's just go through it again. Although we break up on the 10th, we're going to leave on the 12th at 10 a.m. We arrive in Johannesburg at 12:15. We spend 1, 2, 3, 4 nights at our aunt. Remember, we had to spend a minimum of 3, but we couldn't leave Tuesday. There was no train. So we leave on the 17th and we leave at 6:30 at night. We arrive in Durban at 7:10 a.m. We've got to be in Cape Town back on the 31st, so we have to catch a train from Cape Town on Sunday at 12:30. Here, because of that, we got the Friday train from Durban and we arrived in Joburg on the 27th. It means that night of the 27th, we're going to have to spend the night with our uncle and aunt in Joburg because we've got nowhere to stay. All right, so how many nights were we then in Durban? We arrived that morning at 7:10, so it's 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights, 6 nights, 7 nights, 8 nights we were able to spend with our buddies in Durban. Yes, like I got a headache just looking at all this information, but here's the thing, it hasn't finished yet. There was another question, and the other question was, how much is this train fare all gonna cost us? Okay, so let's have a look at a few more facts that we need to know. We are told here as well that, let's just get it quickly. Here we go. We're told that when we travel, okay, we're going to be traveling between Cape Town and Joburg on tourist class and between Joburg and Durban on economy class. Okay, so we've now got to find these fares. So let's go and let's try and find our fare timetable, and that is right over here. Now, to be able to read this fare timetable, we know that when we leave Johannesburg and we're traveling to, let's say, Kimberley, we go down Joburg and then we go across Kimberley and see where they meet, and that's how much it's going to cost us. Okay, and in the same way with the other timetable. All right, if we're leaving Joburg and let's say going to Ladysmith, we go down Joburg, from Ladysmith we go across and we see what it's going to cost us. But there is a key to it, and the key says that my prices in this pinkish color is my economy class, and the prices in the bluish green color is my tourist class. So first of all, here we go. We worked out that we have got to travel between Cape Town and Joburg. So Cape Town, Joburg, 600 Rand, and that is going to be tourist class. Okay, so when we go to Joburg, we're going to pay 600, and when we come back from Joburg, we're also going to pay 600 Rand. All right. Now, Durban, we got economy class. In other words, we're going the cheaper routes. From Joburg to Durban, it's either 310 or 140. We're going the economy class, 140 Rand from Joburg to Durban, and 140 Rand from Durban to Joburg. But it's not as simple as that. And the reason why it's not as simple is because our question actually said that they tend to put the fares up at certain periods. Let's have a look at this quickly. It says here now that, here we go. Shawshalawsa adds 15% to their fares from the 15th of December to the 10th of January. So when I now look at my timetable, anything from the 15th all the way through to January is going to be plus 15%, or was it plus 10%? We'll look at that now. That means that this trip that I'm taking from Joburg to Cape Town, I'm paying the fare as it's stipulated. But all my other fares are going to have an added amount of money because they add a certain percentage. And let's just have a look at that quickly. It says they're going to add 15%. All right, so now let's quickly go back and have a look at what these fares are going to cost us. So 600 Rand stays as is. The other 600 Rand, we're going to add 15%. So we're going to say times 115% equals, and we get our calculator to do that for us. So I'm going to say I've got 600 Rand times 115%. And my answer is 690. So this trip is costing me 690. This 140, we're going to add 115. So I'm going to multiply by 115%. Sorry, we're going to add 15%. So I've got 140 Rand times 115%. And my answer is 161 Rand. And this fare means it's also going to be 161 Rand. So how do I calculate the total fare? I'm going to say quite simply it's 600 plus 690 plus 161 plus 161, and that'll give me my total fare. Guys, we've done like major work here. We've had to jump from timetables to calendars to cost timetables. Oh my giddy aunt. But you know what? It was quite possible. And if we just take it step for step, we'll easily be able to do it. We're going to take another ad break. Before we do that, let's just summarize what we've done. In this segment, we've covered the following. We've had a look and analyzed various timetables, and then we've linked various timetables and calendars to make sense of a situation involving travel. I trust you've learned a lot, and try and find more examples on this and work through it, and you'll find you'll cope quite easily. We'll chat soon. Cheers.